much peace. I can have joy, I can feel peace and bliss. I'm open to the joy, I'm open to the peace and feeling all this bliss. I can have joy, I can feel. Let it take me there and bliss. Relax your body and feel all of this bliss. Joy, peace, bliss. Joy, peace, bliss. Joy. Relax your body now and feel bliss. Let each breath take you
Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time this stream finds you, it is good, good, good. And we are so happy to be here with you on another Sunday to celebrate the magnificence and significance of God, of the good flowing in, through, and as us. Let us begin, as we always do, with prayer. And so I invite you here and now to just take a breath in. Breathe in through your nose and out through your mouth. And again, in through your nose and out through your mouth. And centering ourselves in the present moment, we breathe in again and we breathe out. There is one mind, only one power, only one presence, working in all and through all. There is one life, and that life is perfect. And that life is my life now. That life is your life now. That life is our life now. That life is life itself, expressing in, through, and as all things. I call this life Mother, Father, God. Goes by many names and cares not what we name it. But we must recognize that there is a power that flows. There is a power that is, and it is absolute. As I recognize that God is, I know that God is right here and right now, because God neither comes nor goes. That means every good thing that I could ever ascribe to this life, this love, this law that I call God is present here now. Wisdom is present here now. Intelligence is present here now. Answers are present here now. Solutions are present here now. Joy and comfort and nurturing are present here now. Victory is present here now. I am so grateful and thankful to know this truth. And as I acknowledge the presence of God, of good is here, I acknowledge our presence because we are one with God and one of God. We are God's good idea. This connection, this union, this harmonious connection that we have with God cannot be severed. It cannot be broken. It cannot be taken away. We are one with God. We are one with God. We are one with God. You 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 are one with answers. You are one with wisdom. You are one with power. You are one with joy. You are one with freedom. You are one with ease. I know this to be true right here and now. As God is the ocean, we are the wave. There is no separation. And so as I live in the fact that there is no separation between us and the all that is, I speak this word in faith and with great power. This celebration that we call the weekend service is prosperous and prospering. Right here and right now, I know that each and every one of us will receive something that will support us in living an empowered life, that will support us in living a victorious life, that will support us in right seeing, that supports us in right acting, that supports us in right being, that supports us in prosperous living. Right here and right now, I know and I declare that our hearts and minds are healed, that our eyes are open, that our lives are set free, that we begin to live from a place and a space that inspires us to make new choices, that inspires us to leap forward, that inspires us to do something we've never done before, to live in a way that we've never lived before, to honor our desires, to honor our heart, to honor those things that God has placed within us that is seeking expression in, through, and as us right here and right now. I am so grateful and thankful for this gathering of empowered, enlightened souls, these souls that are endeavoring to live these teachings, these souls that are endeavoring to live out their true nature and their true power and let it be a lighthouse unto the world. We gather together in love as love, and we leave together in love as love. So with joy and thanksgiving, I release this prayer. I release this prayer back into the law that I know is always in operation and always responding to me, responding to the belief behind the words, the feeling tone behind the words, the knowing behind the words, the absolute expectation behind the words, the trust in God behind the words, the trust in this knowingness behind the words. I release it to that thing and I let it be. I worry about it not. I do not plant the seed and dig it back up and look to see what's going on. I let it be. I let it be. I let it be. From this place of beingness, we lift up our voices and we say, Amen.
Amen.
Ashe.
Ashe.
And so it is.
So it is.
And so it is.
Yes,
and so
yes.
It must be. Yes, yes. Well, hello. Good morning. Good afternoon. Good evening. Happy Sunday. It is so good to be here with each and every one of you as we celebrate the magnificence and significance of God in, through, and as us, as we celebrate this truth as one family. And as we move forward in this absolute knowingness and continue to thrive and live prosperously. It is so good to be here with all of you. We want to shout out our first-time guests. If you're joining us for the very first time, we encourage you. You can leave a note in the comments. Let us know where you're connecting in from. We know that folks are always connecting in from all over the world. Of course, we are New York-centered and New York-centric, and we know all of the boroughs are in the house. But of course, we have folks around the United States and around the world. We would love to know where you're connecting in from, but most importantly, we're happy that you're here. We're happy that you decided to join us today. As a first-time guest, we'd love to stay in touch with you. And so you see this information here on your screen. It's how you access your digital connection card. Just text the word welcome to 347-472-1078. Just the word welcome, no additional messages, and you'll receive an automated response with a link. That link will take you to the digital connection card. When you go to that link, fill out the information and submit the information. And once you've successfully submitted that info, you'll receive a follow-up text that says you're all set. At that point, you'll be on our mailing list. You'll receive our weekly email that goes out every Friday, and any other emails or correspondence that is necessary to keep you abreast of what's going on here at Celebration Spiritual Center. So with that said, this is a wonderful opportunity to move forward into our announcements, which, again, many of these things will be echoed in your weekly email, and you'll have things in your inbox that you want to have easy access to. It is the month of November, and as most of you know, in the month of November, Thanksgiving weekend, we do not hold service. So I believe that's November 27th. We will not be having service on that day. So plan accordingly. If you're out of town, whatever you're doing for that holiday weekend, know that CSC will also be closed. Every Wednesday morning, we gather together for the Momentum Prayer Call. At 7 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, we pray. We share a reading, and then we pray. It's led by either myself, Pastor Yolanda, or one of our prayer champions. The information to connect to that prayer call you see on your screen, and it's also in your email for those that are on our mailing list. Call in before 7 a.m., wait, and we move through. We're usually done in about 10 minutes. What you also see there's a playback number. We record the prayers each week, so the most recent prayer is always available. We highly encourage you to use that as a lifeline, whatever's going on. Sometimes you just need to tap into the vibration of prayer. Somebody got on your nerves, or you got some news that you weren't expecting. It's wonderful to have a resource like this to tap into that vibration. And for those that are on our mailing list, in addition to being able to call in and listen to the playback, if you're on the mailing list, and this is helpful for those that are also outside of the country, we provide the link in our weekly emails to actually listen to the prayer online. So that's another very good reason to be on our mailing list. And at any point, you can just go to that email from Friday, click the link under prayer support, and listen to the most recent prayer. If you have a prayer request, we encourage you to send that in. Your prayer requests should go to prayerchampions@celebrationsc.org. We are always holding the highest watch. We are always knowing the truth with you, and we know that it is important to be able to have a space to share that request and to release that request and know that there are folks that are standing in a knowing with you. I do encourage you that as you're sending the prayer request, it's important that you simply request what it is that you're praying for and praying about. Sometimes you may want to explain what's going on, and I encourage you to keep that brief because what we want to support you in doing and what you're supporting yourself in doing is moving to the knowing the truth. So if your prayer request is talking about the problem, you're not actually in the vibration of prayer yet. Right? So it's important that you can keep that request as simple as possible. I need support here. I'm not feeling good, or this family member is sick, or I just had this experience, whatever it may be. Keep it short in the sense of deliberate, focused, intentional, because your desire is to move to a place of receiving insight, to move to a place of letting this thing go so that you can hear the voice of God, which is already within you, communicating with you and seeking to express more wisdom in, through, and as you. Every third Sunday, we gather together for the God Talk. And this month, the third Sunday is November 20th. The God Talk is your opportunity to ask questions. And those questions can be about absolutely anything. No question is off limits. You may hear something in the sermon this month and it brings up a question. You can bring that question to the God Talk. You may have a question about New Thought in general, how to apply New Thought principles. You may be in the process of unlearning some things you learned in other traditions and learning how to apply that in a New Thought context. We're here to support you in answering all of those questions and so much more. There is no question that is off limits, and we know that it's important to have a free and open forum for you to be able to ask these questions so that you can truly live empowered, so that you can truly live out these principles in a way that you truly understand and it feels a part of you, right? It's not just some set of information that you've read. So we encourage each and every one of you to join us for the God Talk. It happens every third Sunday. As we are virtual, it is happening via Zoom, and so the link and password is sent via email. That's another reason you want to be on the mailing list, because it's only sent to our mailing list, essentially for security purposes. So if you're on the mailing list, you already have that info. Check the Friday email. The info is there. And for our first-time guests, you'll see another opportunity to join our mailing list and get that information again so that you can also be a part of the God Talk on the 20th. As a reminder, today is the last day of early voting here in New York. If you're outside of New York, please check your local elections to find out if and when early voting is still taking place today. For those that are in the state of New York, early voting is happening between 9 a.m. and 5 p.m. As I shared last week, PY and I, we went out and we did early voting last Sunday after service. It was wonderful. It was easy. It was awesome. Shout out to all of the powerful women that are there. The poll workers. We felt like we were there with our aunties and our grandmothers, and it was a beautiful experience. But if you are unable to vote today, then of course, nationally, Election Day is Tuesday, and we encourage everyone to cast your vote. I am so excited because we have a few more weeks. We're in the month of November, and the 2023 Jumpstart begins November 17th. This is your opportunity to be very intentional about your year. You've heard me talk about it many times, that we don't wait till the end of the year and do the things that so many people do in terms of setting New Year's resolutions. But there's actually a very deliberate process that we must go through in some way, shape, or form. And I'm happy to be able to support you all in doing that. Now, what we've been sharing over the past few weeks are the ways in which many folks have benefited from being a part of this year-end class. And so I want to share with you another example. Here, this is Onyenyechi, and she writes, one of the areas I am working to improve is my financial health. 2 weeks ago, a close friend that I lost contact with years ago found my number in an old phone of theirs and called me. As we caught up, he asked if I would come to Seattle and offered to pay for the plane ticket. I let him know I had to work, but could use that money to pay a bill or two. The very next day, he sent me $2,000. He reminded me of a $1,300 loan I gave him years ago that he never paid back, and I totally forgot about. And he threw in something extra on top of that. These series of events could have only come from me affirming since the 90 Days to Greatness Best Year Ever course that I am prosperous, and from the Master Manifestor course, money shows up easily and effortlessly without me having to work for it. This is my first deliberate manifestation, and it strengthened my faith in myself. And so as we do the work to prepare for the new year, what is it that we're doing? First, we're going to catch God's grand vision for our life in 2023. There is something that God, that life, that source wants to express through you. It's already in you, right? Something that you are able to become. Again, it's already in you. Just as you can look at a seed, everything that is necessary for it to become this big, mighty tree and to yield fruit and flowers, all of that is already present, right? But we have to go through a process, just like the seed, to be able to express that. So we're going to catch God's grand vision for our life. And then I'm going to support you in learning and practicing the simple 4-step process I use to deliberately create my year each and every year. You're going to receive weekly guidance and support from me. And you're going to join a mastermind of individuals who have decided to make 2023 their best year ever. We begin on Thursday, November 17th. Classes are at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. They will be virtual via Zoom. Registration closes on Sunday, the 13th at 11:59 p.m. So you have a little bit more time to register. Go to celebrationsc.org/register. The cost for the class is $197. And if you have any questions, you can always send us an email. You can reach out to me on social media, and I'm happy to answer any of your questions. But I look forward to many of you joining me as we move through this process for another year. And that completes our announcements for this Sunday. And so now we are in Pastor Yolanda's hands as she leads us in the meditation experience.
Oh, wow. It's a new month and a new opportunity to meditate together, to experience God within us for ourselves. I love the synchronicity of this information and the fact that we are all connected to the one mind. In PG's opening prayer, he said, "You are one with God. You are one with God. You are one with God." And I was like, that's our affirmation for this month. I'm glad to know that we are all one with God. And our affirmative thought is very important. In fact, it is one of the founding principles of our church, that we are one with God. And why is that important? Because sometimes we feel alone in our experience. We feel alone trying to look for answers. We feel disconnected. We feel afraid. We are out there trying to create a future by ourselves. This idea, I am one with God, is foundational to new thought. You see, for too long we've been told that God is out there and we're over here, that we must bow down to it, we must act a certain way for it to love us, for it to bless us. But we get to realize and experience that we are one with God. God had an idea, and you came forth from that divine intelligence. So you have to come from that mind. You are one with that mind. You are never separate from that mind. Nothing that you have done or will do could ever change that connection. And so we bring that thought and we use that thought this month. I am one with God. Period. End of statement. It opens us up to receiving the connection, to receiving the answers that we need, to receiving the healing that we need, to receiving the love that we need. So let's use that this month. Let's go ahead and prepare for our meditative time. How do we do that? First, we look around the room. We bring ourselves present, right here and now. Not worried about the past, not anticipating a future, but right here, right now. Because right here, right now, is where God is, and all is well. So, as you look around the room, prepare yourself, seated upright, in a relaxed position. Ears over shoulders, shoulders over hips, and plant the palms on the tops of the thighs. And from this place of safety and comfort and connection, close your eyes. And just as we can feel the breath right now, the breath is a symbol of our connection, for we are one with God. Let's take a few rounds to notice the breath right where it is. And whether the breath appears to be deep or shallow, it matters not, for we are breathing. And we are grateful for the breath. We are grateful for the reminder that I am one with God. Let's take a few conscious breaths now. Noticing the breath, taking control of the breath, sending the breath and our focus into the low belly. Together, inhale for a count of 4 into the low belly. Hold it there. And open the mouth, relax the jaw, and without force, release the breath. In through the low belly again, expanding the low belly, sending the breath deep into the body. Hold it there. And open the mouth, relax the jaw, release the breath. In through the low belly, up through the rib cage, expanding the front and the sides and the back of the body. Sending that breath throughout the midsection. Hold it there. And without collapsing the body, release the breath by relaxing the jaw. In through the low belly, up through the rib cage again, finding more places for the breath to go. Hold it there. And open the mouth, relax the jaw, release the breath. Taking that breath in and all the way up now, up and to the heart chakra, center of the chest. Hold it there. And sigh it out. Following that path in and all the way up, making its way to that healing center. Hold it there. Relax the jaw and sigh it out. Now let's practice a few rounds of this deep, full breath in and all the way up to the heart. But this time, close the lips and exhale through the nose. At your own pace, feeling your own connection to the breath and to God. Practice for a few rounds. Beautiful, everyone. Let's take that breath and send it into the feet as we move about the planet. We may feel in a hurry. We may feel uncertain. But let's relax the feet and remember our connection to the earth and that we are one with God. Relax the feet. Feeling the energy of connection flowing up through the soles of the feet, crossing the ankles. Relax and release the ankles. Energy flows up across the shins and the calves. Relax the shins and the calves. As that energy flows across the knees, we remain open, flexible, yet connected to God. Relax the knees. This energy flows across the thighs and the glutes and the hamstrings. We feel it and we release it. Relax the thighs, the glutes, and the hamstrings. I am one with God and you are one with God. Releasing the lower half of the body, we feel that connection flowing up the body, activating this chakra system, balancing, aligning. Energy flows in and up. Take the breath here. Release the breath. Feel the connection. In and up. Exhale. Release. Connect. In and up. Exhale. Release whatever you're holding. Connect. In and up. Exhale. Release and connect. In and up. Exhale. Release. Connect. Let that energy now flow up, up, up and out, crown of your head. In your mind and in your experience, see that energy connecting us all to one another. And since we are individualized expressions of the one mind, we can affirm that I am one with God as we let love flow back down through the crown, across the third eye, down the throat, across the shoulders, down the arms, out the fingertips. As a completely open channel now, you can turn the palms up to receive more or turn the palms down to ground. Either way, your connection is solid, for you are connected to God and could never be separate. Scan the body one last time, noticing any tension that you might be holding. Send the breath there, send love there, send God there, and release and remember, I am one with God. As we prepare for our silent time, if the mind wanders, it is okay. Lovingly, gently bring it back, and let this thought bring you peace and ease. I am one with God. I am one with God. I will monitor the time. You just feel that connection. I am one with God, and you are one with God now. With our eyes still closed, we've been given a subtle signal to gently return, but we don't return empty-handed. We return more connected. With our eyes still closed, we feel so good within ourselves, for this connection can never be broken. With our eyes still closed, we remember and we take mental pictures of this time, bringing ourselves back to center whenever we need. We are connected to infinite intelligence, a divine mind, and the source of all wisdom. That connection is strong. That connection is true. That connection is eternal. Let's start to bring ourselves nice and easy back into our bodies. Maybe we wiggle the fingers and the toes. If the palms are turned up, turn them down, making contact with the tops of the thighs. And that gentle touch is enough to wake the body in a soft, easy way. From this place, inhale and draw the shoulders up by the ears. Exhale as we release the shoulders back and down. Nice and easy, shoulders up. Exhale, shoulder blades draw back and down. Last time, in and up. Exhale, releasing the shoulders. Nice and easy. Bringing the palms together at heart center. Bowing the chin towards the fingertips. Pausing here to just notice that opening at the base of the neck and along the spinal column. Nice and easy, float the eyes open. Soft gaze, no strain on the eyes. And when you're ready, inhale, raise the chin, raise the gaze. Exhale, release the breath. Settle in and remember the connection. Namaste.
Yes, yes, yes. Namaste. Thank you, PY.
You're welcome.
Meditation is always wonderful, and it deepens each and every week. I will remind you, you can always come back to this video, particularly on YouTube. We have the chapters there, so you can just click right on the chapter and drop in for meditation whenever it's needed, whenever it feels good to you. Well, we are in a new month, which means we are beginning a new series. Our series this month, What is Standing in the Way? It's rooted in a truth that you've heard both me and PY speak about many times, but I'm excited about this series because I think it will support you in deepening your understanding. What happens when we've been praying and the prayer isn't answered, right? What do we do when we feel stuck, when we feel lost, when we're lacking clarity and we're like, which way should I go? What should I do? We're feeling so much confusion. And so this series is really going to support you in doing that. And we're going to begin with the sermon today. Are you asking the right questions? And so I will see you on the other side. But first, we're going to hear from Soul 21. All right.
Can you hear the knocking?
Can you hear the knocking?
Knocking at your door.
Knocking at your door.
Can you hear life calling?
You hear life calling.
Calling you to more more.
Calling you to more.
Open the door to life.
Open the door to
Don't
life.
you be afraid.
Don't you be afraid.
This is how your dreams come true.
This is how your dreams come
How your life will change.
How your life will change.
Welcome them in.
Welcome them in.
Welcome them in.
Welcome them in.
They are
They
angels.
are angels
Sent from beyond.
sent from beyond.
All of life
All of life
is a movement.
is a movement toward our wholeness.
All of life
All of life
is a movement.
is a movement toward our wholeness.
Can you hear the knocking? Oh,
You hear the knocking,
don't run away.
don't you run away.
Can you hear life calling?
You hear like calling,
The call of a new day.
all of a new day.
Open the door to life.
Open the door,
Don't be afraid. No, no, no.
be afraid.
This is how your dreams come true.
How your dreams
How your life will change.
life will change.
Welcome them in.
Welcome them in.
Welcome them in. They are really angels. God's angels.
From beyond.
All of life is a movement.
A movement toward our wholeness.
All of life is a movement.
Movement toward our wholeness.
All of life is a movement.
Toward our wholeness.
All of life.
Is a movement toward our wholeness.
So when you know this truth and you live this truth, then you can sing welcome them in.
Welcome them in.
Oh, you can welcome them in. They are in. God is angels from beyond. Oh, now I am living abundantly.
I am living abundant.
Living in complete prosperity.
In complete prosperity.
Now I am free to be all
I
me.
am free to
I'm living in the flow of life.
in the flow of
After I've opened the door and welcomed them in now, I am living abundantly, living in complete prosperity. Every area of my life, now I am free to be all me. In the flow of life. Yeah, yeah. Now I am free.
I am living abundant.
Oh, now I am free.
Living in complete prosperity.
Na, 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 na.
Free to be
In the flow of life. Now I am living. Yes. Now I am living. Now I am. I thought I was living before, but now I am living. In the flow of life. Now I am living. Yes, yes, yes. Now, no, no, no. In the flow of life. All of life is a movement. That setback, that closed door, that disappointment, what you may not realize now, but you will realize later as you look back, that was the very thing that moved you to the thing that you really wanted. That's why we sing all the night. It's a movement. All of life is a movement. It's a movement. The principle of rhythm teaches us that life never stops moving. Life is always flowing. There are times in our life where we feel stuck. There are times in our life where we feel like our back is against the wall. There are times in our life where it seems like this thing is fixed, but that is not the truth of life. The truth of life is that life is moving, it's moving, it's moving, it's moving, it's moving, it's moving, it's moving, moving, it's moving, it's moving, All of life is a movement.
All of life is a movement.
Picture in your mind that problem moving. Picture in your mind that challenge moving. Picture in your mind that difficulty moving. Picture in your mind that dis-ease moving. Moving, moving, moving. Moving, moving, moving. Moving, moving, moving. Moving, 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 moving. Yeah. All of life is a movement toward our wholeness.
All of life
It's moving.
is a movement toward our wholeness.
All of life
Is a movement toward our wholeness.
all of life.
All of life is a movement toward our wholeness.
So it is. So it is.
Wow, wow, wow. Yes, yes. All of life is a movement toward our wholeness. That truth remains true. It's a powerful truth based on a reading, verse 29, Tao Te Ching, understanding that to the sage, all of life is a movement toward our wholeness. No matter what may be happening, no matter what we may be experiencing it, we may be up, we may be down, we may be ahead, we may be behind. But to the sage, we understand, the spiritual understanding is that life is a movement. It's not fixed. We're not stuck. Thank you, Soul 21, for that powerful, powerful, powerful song. Well, hello again. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. It is so good to be here with all of you as we begin this new message series, and I am so very excited about this. So as I shared just before the song, this sermon series is really rooted in something that you've heard me say many times, that you've heard Pastor Yolanda say. It's wisdom that we learned from our spiritual teacher, Reverend August Gold, about prayer. And what we learned from her about prayer is that every prayer is answered. Every prayer is answered, right? Which is a radical statement. We either receive the thing needed, asked for, desired, or we receive what is standing in the way. So when we hear asking it is given, many of you I'm sure have read that powerful text by Abraham Hicks, and of course you've heard and read it in Second Testament scripture. Asking it is given is true. Every time we ask, it is given. Every prayer is answered. Because God, life itself, cannot withhold. I talked about that last month as we were talking about substance. The reality of God is that it's nature to give, and it can't help but give. It does not withhold. It is always providing. So every prayer is answered. But oftentimes we get stuck and we stop because we're not receiving what we thought we wanted or what we were looking for. And so understanding that actually what we may have received is information. What we may have received is something that supports us in having more clarity and then getting to what we want. We may have simply received what is standing in the way. Now, again, you've heard us share this wisdom many times, and part of this wisdom was shared in the December 2018 message series, Your Prayers Have Been Answered, right, which was inspired by the prayer chest written by August Gold and Joel Fortinos. And in that sermon series, we talked about some clear things related to prayer. And you may have heard me, I feel like over the past couple months, I've referenced this statement several times, that prayer is answered through you. Prayer is answered when you listen, and prayer is answered when you welcome everything in, right? And so this is very important and supports us in understanding what we're going to be dealing with this month. I encourage you to go back to that series. Of course, the playlist is on YouTube, and it's a powerful series that will really support you. But hearing this wisdom and applying this wisdom are two very different things, right? You may have heard me say it many times, but are you applying it? But better yet, do you know how to apply it? And that's what really supports why this series exists. And what I want to support you in doing is starting to not just take this wisdom as something spiritual and deep to say to when you hear it, but to begin to actually apply it and to know how to apply it to the conditions of your life, to the circumstances of your life, and to get to the point where it's habitual so that when things show up, this is your immediate response. So the questions we ask ourselves and we ask of God, we ask of life, indicate in some ways our spiritual maturity. I've been sitting with this idea over the past few weeks, and I've definitely used the term many times, spiritual mastery, and I thought about a series we did some years ago, The Way of the Master Metaphysician, and I use that term a lot. And that can be problematic because it feels like there's this place we have to get to, right, to become a master, right? But when we think about it in the context of spiritual maturity, that which matures continues to grow, right? So I could have $100,000, and that $100,000 matures to $500,000, and that $500,000 matures to $1 million, and that $1 million matures to $1.5 million, and that $1.5 matures to $2 million. See, there's no ceiling there, right? There's not some place that I've arrived. You continue to mature. And that's actually a better understanding of what our spiritual growth really looks like and our spiritual attainment, if you will, really looks like. It's about spiritual maturity. And so we can have an indicator of where our spiritual maturity is when we consider some of the questions that we ask ourselves when faced with challenges, problems, difficulties, and seemingly insurmountable situations. See, what I have seen and know to be true is that often we're asking ourselves the wrong questions. We're asking ourselves questions like, why is this happening to me? Why did God allow this to happen to me? We ask questions like, why is God punishing me? Why do I keep making the same mistakes? Why am I so stupid? Why is life so hard? Why is their life so easy? What is wrong with me? Why can't I have nice things? Why can't I have that type of relationship? Why couldn't I be born into a different family? Am I in your business this morning? Anybody ever asked these questions of yourself? Anybody ever heard yourself asking these questions? Sometimes out loud, sometimes when you're talking to a friend, or sometimes just within your own mind. And these are the wrong questions. These questions that we ask in crisis, when we're at a low point, when we're sad and frustrated, are not beneficial. Because you see, living in these questions keep us stuck. Living in these questions will keep you in a loop of emotions that don't feel good. Living in these questions will keep you feeling powerless and will keep you feeling hopeless. And so as you survey an experience you may be going through right now, or when you think back to a challenging time in your life, were you asking yourself the right questions? When I look back at my life, I know I was not asking the right questions. When I look back at some of my situations and circumstances and the ways in which I was lamenting, I was asking some form or all of the questions that I just mentioned, sometimes for days, sometimes for weeks, sometimes for months, and even sometimes for years. So this is why I say living in these questions can keep you stuck. Because it's interesting, life still keeps moving, right? And life is good, so things will still be happening in your life, but you may still be actually living in the, why is this happening to me? Or why did this happen to me? Or why did God allow this, about something that happened years ago, and not realize that you're really just living the loop of that same question over and over again. Why is their life easy and mine is so hard? Why can't I have nice things? Why can't I have a relationship like that? Sometimes for days, sometimes for weeks, and even sometimes for years. And again, living in these questions will leave you feeling powerless and also leave you feeling hopeless. So then the question, of course, if I'm asking you, are you asking the right questions? What are the right questions? So let's start again with the wisdom of answered prayer. I just shared this. every prayer is answered. We either receive the thing needed or desired, or we receive what is standing in the way. Now, when I say we receive what is standing in the way, what really is happening, we're being made aware of, we're being invited to become aware or acknowledge what is standing in the way. And this is important because often, if we think our prayer isn't answered, often if we think God is not hearing us or responding to us, life is not hearing us or responding to us, the universe is not hearing us or responding to us, then of course, if that's where we're lamenting and that's what we're thinking and that's what we're saying, then that's going to continue to be our experience. God is not responding, God is not responding, God is not responding, God is not responding, and so it is. But as soon as you ask this question, what is standing in the way, then you're now being invited to start to look somewhere else, to start to look and survey your life and survey the experiences of your life to get a sense of something else that may be going on. So when I say you receive it, it's not like life or God just says, here, this is the problem. That's not what happens. But there's an invitation. There's an invitation to become aware of more of what's going on, and there's an invitation to acknowledge more of what's going on, and that is what's standing in the way. And so in order to understand what is standing in the way, and in order to understand this powerful question, we have to remind ourselves of a foundational metaphysical truth. We have to remind ourselves of how life, love, and law works. We have to remind ourselves of how Mother, Father, God works, how life works. This takes us back to January, right? In the All About Love series, Love God. And we went through Ernest Holmes, the introduction to the science of mind, right? What it is, what it does, the way it works, right? We went through those things because this is foundation that we have to come to over and over again. And so what is the foundation? You've heard me say this before, but whoever's hearing this for the first time, I encourage you to write this down. Life is not happening to you. Life is not happening for you. Life is happening through you. And this is why the question, what is standing in the way, becomes powerful and beneficial. I'm going to say it again. Life is not happening to you. Life is not happening for you, and that may be controversial to some people's ears, right? This may be the first time you're hearing a spiritual teacher say this. Life is happening through you. So let's go back to Ernest Holmes' Science of Mind, the second part of the introduction, the way it works. Spirit works for us by working what? Through us. The thing, then, works for us by working through us and is us always. It cannot work for us any other way. It spreads itself over the whole universe and shouts at us from every angle, but it can become power to us only when we recognize it as power. Okay, so this is important, one, to just understand, right? If going back, prayer is answered when you listen, prayer is answered through you, prayer is answered when you welcome everything in. Prayer is answered through you. Prayer is not answered by some mystical, magical being beaming down good things and gifts to you. That's not how prayer works, right? That's part of why the world doesn't understand prayer, the world doesn't embrace prayer, and we think that prayer is a sometimey act. But if we understand that prayer is answered through us, this is also then how we can know that every prayer is absolutely answered, because we start to operate differently from the moment that we've prayed a prayer. But the thing is just as I talked about, if we're constantly asking this question of why is this happening to me? Why is this happening to me? Or we're constantly in the space of God is not responding to me, as Ernest Holmes says, it can only become power to us when we recognize it as power. So you see, that shift has to happen in our own minds to understand, oh, there's something operating through me, not something operating to me or on me or against me, and not even something operating for me, right? That's Santa Claus, right? That's the Santa Claus consciousness, right? Santa Claus is a wonderful being, right? Jolly and kind and nice, right? And so Santa Claus is flying around the world bringing gifts, and that feels nice. Santa Claus is doing something for you. But that's not how God life works. So when we ask, why is this happening to me? This is why we will never get a useful or actionable answer. Asking why is this happening to me would be like sitting in a car asking why is it not turning on, but you have not put the key in the ignition. That's what asking the wrong questions is like. Now, I want you to understand something more. I want to break this down because, of course, the life is not happening to you. I think we all understand that's of course, stage one victim consciousness, right? Life is happening to me. They're doing this to me. This thing is doing this to, all right, all of that. And again, victim consciousness, the devil is doing this to me. The devil is busy, right? There's some other power, some entity that seemingly is more powerful than even God that's doing all of these things. And so we know that we have to release ourselves from that consciousness, right? This is why we affirm in prayer, there is only one mind, only one power, only one presence that is working in all, through all, and as all. There is only one life, and that life is perfect. That life is God, and it's my life now. It is your life now. It is our life now. This is why we continue to affirm this, because as we are in a duality in our experience, right? There are the world of opposites. We have to bring ourselves, our minds, back to the world of union. So this is why we must know that there's nothing happening to us, but in truth, life is happening through us. But this idea of life is happening for you, and as I said earlier, that might be a little uncomfortable because I know, and I want to acknowledge, I know that this has been and can be helpful for a lot of folks, especially when you're moving from life is happening to me to life is happening for me. This is supporting you in moving out of a victim stage. This is supporting you in moving closer to union, closer to understanding that there's this beautiful, powerful, symbiotic relationship that you have with all of life, with God itself. But the for me, and so I want to honor that it supports you in that moving. But see, the for me is often misused and misapplied. See, life is happening for me can lead to gaslighting and can lead to spiritual delusion. Life is happening for me has led far too many people to rush to spiritualize the situation and rush to fix it. Again, I'm in somebody's business today. Because, see, we want to take these spiritual ideas and we want to use spiritual wisdom to apply to whatever's going on. And immediately, instead of first just feeling whatever the feeling is, feeling sad, feeling frustrated, feeling disgusted, feeling mad, whatever, because emotions are good, emotions are not bad. And we will never teach that you should not have emotions. You should have them. You should feel them, right? That's part of being alive and that's a part of being human. But so often life is happening for me. So what's my spiritual? Oh, I know God is working this out, or I am one with God, I am prosperous, and you ain't got no money to pay near one of your bills. Life is for me. I know this thing is for me. No. See, that's misapplication, and that's spiritual delusion. Life is for me has led many to feel then spiritually inadequate when they can't see how the situation is working for their good, right? And this is important, even as we just heard the song, all of life is a movement toward our wholeness, right? What Lao Tzu is writing in that verse, as I shared earlier, some days we're up, some days we're behind. And the sage understands that it's all good, not in the sense of it is good, right? But that ultimately there's nothing wrong with where I am. Abraham Hicks teaches that so wonderfully, and I believe I did a sermon based on that. But this idea of where you are is where you are. And in order to make any change, first you just have to be okay with, this is where I am. I'm not judging myself. I'm not blaming myself. I'm not pitying myself. Where I am is where I am. But the beautiful thing, and asking the right question supports you and putting you in the seat of power, because you understand that from where you are, you can change and shift the circumstance. And so, again, not only does it leave some folks feeling spiritually inadequate because it's like, well, I can't see how this is operating for me. But then also we recognize how many leaders and even, I'll say, well-meaning folks, just lay folks, then lead people in believing that heinous acts and despicable acts like rape and abuse, that they were for them, that it was a good thing. And again, that's spiritual malpractice and that's spiritual gaslighting. And so that's why we have to be careful and why we're moving away from this idea of simply affirming that life is for us, because it doesn't work in all situations. And again, it can lead us into a sense of feeling inadequate. It can lead us into spiritual delusion. It can lead us into spiritual gaslighting ourselves and others. And it can also lead us into rushing to spiritualize a situation. And what I'm supporting you in doing here is asking some questions that are giving you the opportunity to look at the entire situation and look from a place of consciousness, not turning your head and not quickly rushing to try to fix it or even get away from what doesn't feel good, right? There's comfort in the discomfort as you ask these questions. But when we come to this understanding, as Ernest Holmes says, Spirit works for us by working through us. When we come to this understanding and understanding that life is operating through us, through you puts you back in the seat of power. It is from here that you can make change. Through you leads you to ask questions that are beneficial and in alignment with how God, with how life, love, and law actually work. They work through us, but that requires our acknowledgement. And so, yes, feel sad. Yes, feel disappointed, feel angry, feel frustrated. Allow those waves of emotions to move through you and then come back to yourself and remember, wait a minute, life operates through me. Wait a minute, prayer operates through me. Wait a minute. The power that God is can only become power to me when I recognize it as power. So I have to recognize and acknowledge this beautiful union that happens of life, of God, of law operating through me, because that is how I can change this situation that doesn't feel good. That's how I can move out of this situation that has me frustrated. That's how I can make this challenge something that ultimately becomes something good. And again, see, this is what's behind these axioms. This is what's behind these affirmations. Because you do have the opportunity. I was thinking that this morning as we think about the story of Joseph, and I think people misrepresent that story, that sort of climactic phrase when he says, what some meant for evil, God used for good. Right? And so it's not that it was good. Being betrayed and sent into slavery by your brothers is not good. Being lied on by Potiphar's wife is not good, right? Like, none of those things were good. Those were bad things that happened, unwanted things that happened. But what's powerful is even those experiences, Joseph kept his mind in a certain space and place, right, was able to lead him into an experience that was beneficial, right? And then in turn enabled him to give grace and love and forgiveness to his own family, who truthfully didn't deserve it, right? But that grace is not about deserving. So again, we ask, what are the right questions? And so as we're thinking about the right questions, I want to encourage you, this requires a certain energy. Again, you're going to feel the emotions, the disappointment, the sadness, the anger, the frustration, the annoyance, the dismay, whatever it is you may be, you're going to feel all of that. And you give yourself the opportunity to feel those feelings. And as I said earlier, you come to yourself, but then it requires you to step into a posture of curiosity. And this posture of curiosity is without judgment. You don't know what you're going to find, but you believe that whatever you find will lead you to a good outcome, right? And so that's where your curiosity is. And so you have to have an open, loving mind and heart, in this curiosity. If you're not able to get to that space yet, all good. But I must outline that this is the space that you must get to. And what I know to be true, my life has proven to me, the more that you begin to live this way and the more that you begin to practice this, the curiosity and this open, loving mind and heart becomes easier to access that, because you have all of these examples of, when I did this last time, here's the wonderful, powerful, good outcome that I had. So then you start to build on that. Initially, if this is something you're trying on, it's new, and it's going to feel unfamiliar. But this is what's necessary. And so you ask questions like, what is standing in the way? But I want to break that out even more, right? Because that sounds nice, but that doesn't get us all the way there. God, life, what are you showing me right now? This is one of the reasons why I wrote that song, Show Me Clearly, Clearly Show Me, I Will Wait for Thee. Right? I had learned enough in my life to be in a space where, okay, life is showing me something as I'm in this discomfort. And so I have the opportunity, it doesn't feel good, but I recognize that something is being revealed to me. There's another question. What is being revealed to me in this situation? That's very specific language. I didn't say, what are you teaching me? See, that's that old for me consciousness. Life is not teaching us anything, but there is something being revealed. There's something that we're being invited to be made aware of that we were not previously aware of, because if we were, we would have already healed that. We've already cleaned it up. We would have already dealt with it, but we're not aware of it. And so in praying the prayer is what's rising it up before us. Another question we can ask, particularly when we're looking back at the results of certain choices, what was I thinking before I made that choice, or before I made that decision? What was my inner dialogue like before this decision? Many times we were so focused on what it is that we wanted that we weren't aware of all of the don't want dialogue that was happening. Right? So we wanted a relationship, but we also had this list of, I don't want them to be this, and I don't want them to act like that, and I don't want to be treated this way, and I don't want to be treated that way, right? And we were unaware of it, we were unconscious, but now that we're in another relationship that didn't work out, but everything seemed good, and I prayed, and I used my affirmations, and I created a 3-column prayer, or I used the 5 steps of affirmative prayer, whatever it may be, and it's like I still got something that I didn't want. We tap in and we ask these questions. Life, what are you showing me right now? What is being revealed to me in this situation? What was I thinking before I made that decision? What was my inner dialogue before this situation? And so a practical exercise that you can use, and I've seen this used in many situations. I've used it in many situations. You can use this around your health, your body. You can use this about anything in your life affairs. Writing a letter to that problem or that challenge and asking those questions. Writing that letter like a conversation. Eviction notice, you're here now. What are you revealing to me? What are you bringing to my attention? What is here to be healed? To that condition in your body. What are you revealing? What are you bringing to my attention? What is here to be healed? And write that letter as a conversation. From this place of curiosity with an open and loving heart. And then you turn the page and begin to write the thoughts that come to you without judgment, without editing yourself. If that's not something that you feel comfortable with, or you feel like I'm not hearing anything, that's okay, right? You can simply just close. You close the letter, sign it, love, and Mike, love Greg, right? Sign it with your name, close it. And now what's beginning to happen as you've asked that questions, now you pay attention. So I say prayer is answered when you listen, and prayer is answered when you welcome everything in. And so just by putting yourself in the posture of asking those questions, right, when you ask, it is given. Every question is answered, because that's by law. We live in again, a duality. If there's a left, there must be a right. If there's an up, there must be a down. So if the question has surfaced, the answer must exist. And so I want to share with you a story that I know I've shared this in different ways or parts of the story at times, but it came to my mind as it related to this sermon to highlight what it looks like when we're not asking the right questions. Now, in 2011, I co-founded Expansion Church with Rodney McKenzie. And it was my goal and desire to move into full-time ministry. It was my desire to quit my 9-to-5 so that we could continue to co-lead Expansion Church and take it to where it was destined to go, right? And so in those first few months of leading the church, I was just focused on, I can't wait to leave my job, right? I want to leave my 9-to-5. I want to be able to dedicate more of my time, more of my energy, more of my love and my consciousness to this ministry. And so, again, we founded it in September of 2011. And so in December of 2011, I gave my 2 weeks notice. And so I quit my job at the end of December. And so I entered the new year. I entered 2012, no longer having this 9-to-5 and having more time to dedicate to the ministry. And the first quarter of that year, those first 3 months were absolutely horrible, right? They were incredibly difficult. One of the toughest 3 months of my life. At that time, we had to put most of our salary back into the ministry, right? So I wasn't receiving much of a salary in doing the work, and so I was relying on my savings and depleted my savings rather quickly. I was also getting some opportunities, some other gigs and things were coming, but everything was like later in the year, right? So I got this wonderful opportunity to do a show. At the time, it was one of the biggest shows I had done. It was going to be one of the biggest paychecks I had ever received as a performer. But that wasn't happening until July, right? And I needed that money. This was like February, March. Like, I needed that money then, right? So it was wonderful to have those opportunities, but that was a far way off, and it wasn't helping me, right? And so I found myself really, really, really vexed. And I found myself all up in my feelings, right? Very human, right? I definitely was in the "why is this happening to me" place, right? And as I moved somewhat out of that place, for those of you who know the song "I Give This to You" that we sing, that's where that song was birthed, because all I had was just the chorus, just to kind of keep me afloat. I would just sit at the piano and sing, "I give this to you, I give this to you. You know the answers. You know what to do. I give this to you." I knew it enough to know that I couldn't hold on to it, but I was sort of straddling, right? I had one foot over in the victim side. Why is this happening to me? And I thought I was doing everything right, and this is a good thing, and we're doing ministry, and I affirmed, and I know how to do this, and I teach this, and I got to this powerful place of being able to leave my 9-to-5. Why is this experience happening in the way that it's happening? And it just felt like I was just being punched on every side, just different things, one after the other, was hitting me. And eventually, I had to make some choices. I had to make some changes, and financially, eventually, I moved into a better place. But it wasn't until probably a year later that I finally understood something, and this was actually, I learned this through Abraham Hicks, through really applying those teachings, that I understood something about where my consciousness was as I was praying and affirming about leaving my 9-to-5. See, the other thing that was happening in my mind, because again, leaving my 9-to-5 and focusing on the ministry full time, that's a good thing. And that's a wonderful thing. And all of you, I'm sure, can understand why that would have been a desire of mine and why that would have been a good thing, right? All good. But there was something else going on in my consciousness while I had that desire. Because you see, I had created this story in my mind of inadequacy. I had created this story in my mind that I was not doing enough as the co-leader, co-director, co-minister of Expansion Church. I had created this story in my mind that because I could not dedicate all of my time and I had to split my time between the 9 to 5 and the work of the church, that somehow, again, I wasn't doing enough, and somehow my Rodney, my co-leader, was judging me or in some way for it, and that everyone else on our leadership team was thinking the same thing. None of this was fact. None of this was true. None of this had ever been said. But that was the story that I had in my mind. And so you see, what I had the opportunity to heal then, what was really standing in the way at that time was this sense of inadequacy, was this sense of not being enough, this sense of not honoring all that I was providing and all of the ways that I was showing up. In leading this and co-leading this organization. I wasn't honoring any of that. And so part of what was really fueling my desire to leave the 9 to 5 was, I'm not enough. And so what happened? What did I say happened to my finances? We just finished the metaphysics of money. So y'all know the truth of how this works. So I walked myself into January, my not enough self, right? With my not enough manifestation, because that's what was fueled by. And what happened? My funds, my money was like, oh, you're not enough, not enough, not enough. Oh yeah, you're going to have to put your money into the ministry. You're not even going to get your full salary. Oh, and yeah, this savings, this cushion that you had set up for yourself, yeah, that's about to go real quick, bruh. And so this is the reality of why we got to ask ourselves these questions. This is the reality why it's important that we're conscious of these questions that I asked earlier, these questions that you can ask yourself. What was I thinking before I made that decision? What was my inner dialogue like before this situation? And I was not aware of these things. I wasn't consciously aware of them, because I was so focused on this desire is good. This desire is a thing that should be desired. But then I was bewildered and really surprised and dismayed when I entered into the new year and my experience wasn't what I thought it would be. And again, the not enoughness then manifested as through and as my finances. And so I couldn't really finish and really live the truth of that song. Like I said, I Give This to You was part of me just, realizing I wanted to I needed to give this to God, that God knew the answers, that there was something, a power greater than me working through me that knew the answers. But that bridge, worry, doubt, and fear, I give it up. It was never mine, right? See, that's the stuff that I needed to let go of. Right? All of that unworthiness, that inadequacy, that's what was fueling my desire. So the questions we ask ourselves and we ask of God, the questions that we ask of life, indicate our spiritual maturity. It doesn't indicate that we're wrong or bad or we don't know anything, but we recognize that understanding maturing things that mature, again, there's no ceiling. 1 million matures to 1.5 million. 1.5 million matures to 2 million, and on and on. My desire for you is to operate from a space of spiritual maturity. And this comes from then creating habits around asking the right questions. When faced with challenges, problems, difficulties, and seemingly insurmountable situations, are we asking the wrong questions? Are we asking questions like, why is this happening to me? Why did God allow this? Why is God punishing me? Why do I keep making the same mistakes? Why is life so hard? Remember, when we pray, the prayer is answered. Remembering that prayer is answered through us will help us to avoid these questions that aren't beneficial and will keep us in a loop of helplessness and hopelessness. When things don't appear to be working in our favor or some roadblock of some kind shows up, we got to ask the right questions. What is standing in the way? What is being revealed? What is being brought to my attention? What is here to be healed? Then, of course, you must be willing to take the next step and do the healing work that is necessary. Remember, these things show up not to torment us or to make our lives miserable. They show up because there is enough love here to heal it. It is ready to be released from your body and mind. The first step is that you release by asking the right questions. And it's so powerful and beautiful because as I think about in this moment, expansion being my first experience with founding a spiritual organization and having another opportunity through CSC, I got the opportunity to ask the right questions, right? I got the opportunity to choose again. I got the opportunity to choose differently. And it was only through that awareness that I was able to have and create a different experience in leading CSC on a personal level, right? Because again, this is not about the organization or the progress of the organization. This was about me and my life and my experience. Because I was living in a story that nobody else had ever said, a story that wasn't true, right? It wasn't factual. But it was true because life happens through me, right? And so that became my experience. I am so excited to go deeper with you all as we step into this reality and this awareness around what is standing in the way and start to uncover some beautiful things. Next week, we're going to talk about obstacles and boundaries. We're going to look at some of the obstacles that we create in our own minds and even what it means metaphysically and from a new thought perspective to do we need to have boundaries or not, right? There's a lot of thoughts and teachings around that, of setting boundaries in your life. And so we're going to look at that and look at how some of those things may be standing in the way of the thing that we desire. I look forward to being with you next week, but to this truth, I say amen, ashe, and so it is.
Ah, yes, yes. What is standing in the way? You know, one of the things that PG and I said to ourselves before there was an official ministry was that we would be very transparent in the ways in which we talked about these teachings, the way in which we taught these principles, and that we would use our own life experiences to do it.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's so important to not just have platitudes or information, but we have used these principles, these teachings, to change our own lives. Otherwise, we're just out here just espousing things that we've read. It is only through our personal transformations that we can come to a place of compassion and love and clarity and teach.
Yeah.
We want to help you avoid, if at all possible, some of the things that we've gone through.
Yeah.
It's like the Cliff Notes version gives you all the juicy parts. You don't have to experience what we've experienced to have a testimony. There is no need for the tests that we have all endured. When you get information, now you get to apply it in your life. And that's what we want for you. Mastery is not just manipulation and creating things and buying things and having homes. Mastery and maturity go hand in hand. And as we keep evolving, we keep sharing.
Oh, yeah.
And as you keep evolving, you keep growing and experiencing these teachings on a different level. There is no ceiling on your good.
No.
So go ahead, ask the right questions, and wait for the answers. Those answers would never put you in harm.
No.
Those answers would never be judgmental, because unconditional love could not be so. It's going to give you information so that you can make a new choice.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Thanks, PG.
Thank you. Well, as you see here on your screen, it is time for giving, and it's very easy to give to CSC. You can go to our website, celebrationsc.org/give, or you can text your dollar amount to 347-744-95. I was about to say a different number. 744-9500. There's a $10 minimum for text to give. Most importantly, give what feels good. Find your joy number, identify what that is, identify that number that you can give without worry, without stress, without strain. Because of course, we know that if you're giving without worry, stress, and strain, that means that you're giving from joy, you're giving from ease, you're giving with excitement. Right, and that then those are the seeds that you are planting in your own consciousness around money, what it is, what it does, and how it works in, through, and as your life. And so that's why we always encourage and admonish you to give what feels good, because we know that consciousness, when it's connected to your finances, then continues in your finances. And so it is then that we can that we can affirm this powerful truth. All the money that I use returns to me multiplied. In a never-ending cycle. Of increase. And enjoyment. Yes. To that we say amen.
Amen.
Ashe. And so it is.
So
it must be. Well, I am so grateful, yes, to have each and every one of you here, to be here with you, to continue to celebrate and this consciousness week in and week out, to continue to learn and grow. I mean, y'all know this, but it's always a joy for me to preach and share a series. And I'm excited about this series as I was about last month or any other series. So I look forward to continuing the journey this month. I encourage y'all to enjoy. If you're in New York, it's autumn, spring. Enjoy the weather. Shout out to all the runners, the marathon. I don't think we mentioned the marathon today. I feel like the marathon is a sermon by itself.
Yes.
Every runner is a powerful story. So if you're going out to celebrate the runners, do that. But enjoy your day in whatever way you choose to, and continue to thrive. Have an absolutely amazing week, and use this consciousness that we've co-created, right? This beautiful spiritual elixir that we're tapped into together. Take that with you throughout the week. Live it, be it, embrace it, right? And watch what happens. We look forward to connecting with you on the prayer call on Wednesday. And of course, we look forward to seeing you again on next Sunday at 11 a.m. So enjoy your day. Bye for now.
Bye for now.